Right, thanks for joining us on this, the latest edition of ShrimpNet, the Shrimps Trust podcast, episode 7 already. How did that happen? And here to discuss all things Shrimply this week, alongside Joel and yours truly. We have our current top scorer and second-time Burnley loanee, Michael Mellon. Welcome along. Thank you for doing this, Michael, and thanks to Faz for getting you to do it or persuading you that it was all right. Thanks for joining us.
No worries.
So we always start with the talk through the recent games. And it's quite fortuitous, really, Michael, that you're on, because obviously we need to talk about Gillingham, and it was quite an eventful game, Joel, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had. I mean, for a game between two teams that have only seen both teams score in a game once all season. That was the first time both teams have scored in the Gillingham game all season. It was only the second time both teams have scored in one of our games all season. So for it to be 1-1 after about 20-25 minutes, and then for Gillingham to get another one after that quite soon, it was a bit of a surprise. I thought Gillingham were a decent side. I thought they had a few good ways of getting the ball at the pitch. I thought they were quite smart in how they put balls in over the top. I thought Macaulay Bomb did a good job, kind of holding up the play, running behind, stretching things. And I thought what they did well from that was then they took advantage of the space that then opened up on the edge of our area. So they kind of turn our defence and send them back. And then you'll have your good playmakers like your Jolly Williamses and all that. They'd be coming in, and George Latsey and people like that. They'd be coming in and taking the advantage of that space. And while obviously the goal itself is from a corner, ultimately you get those opportunities from building up pressure and putting yourselves in those situations and creating more and more of those opportunities. And yeah, they've made kind of first contact on that corner, and we've not picked up Lapsley at the back post, and they've gone the goal ahead. But I thought we weren't. I mean, even with 10 men later on in the game, we never really looked out of the game. I thought there were periods of the game where Gillingham looked strong, but I think we came back, and obviously we've come back fighting pretty quickly. Joel Senior's putting a nice ball over the top, and Michael's done really, really well to kind of lob it over Jake Turner, and we're back in the game. And then it's just a bit of a shame, and I think it's another kind of quick bit of movement through midfield that's caught us out a few minutes later. And there, Conor Mahoney's done really, really well to kind of work himself a bit of space in the box and pop it in the top corner. And I think from then on, Gillingham obviously did take a bit of a back foot, as you do when you're holding on to a lead. And I thought we were starting to build, and we gradually had a bit more pressure. And then obviously the referee, as referees do, decide to make it all about themselves. And I thought it was a very, very harsh second yellow. And, you know, it's put us down to 10 men in a difficult position. We've kind of gone at it still. And I thought we did still give a good account of ourselves with 10 men. But ultimately, you know, it is tricky against what is undoubtedly probably, I wouldn't surprise me if we come to the end of the season and Gillian's defensive numbers are the best, because, you know, so far they've been really good, and that's what you kind of expect from a Neil Harris side. But yeah, it was tough, but at the same time we very much competed with them. And obviously we speak a lot about away performance, away results and everything after last season, but I thought this was a far cry from the kind of away performances we saw from last season. I thought, you know, there'd be times when we would kind of wilt a little bit away from home, but I don't think we did that at all. We maybe made a few errors, and we could have handled some situations better, but overall we were competitive throughout the whole game. It didn't really, and you know, Gillingham didn't coast to that win. They had to work hard for it. So yeah, it's a shame it's gone that way, but it is a tough place to go. And I'd say performance.
And it was a bloody worldie that won it.
Yeah, it was a great goal, and at the end of the day,
it was a brilliant goal.
Performance-wise, I think we're definitely getting there away from home. It's a far cry from what we saw last season, I think. So that's the positive enough in it for me, I reckon.
So I'll come to you now, Michael. There's quite a few talking points. First of all, a great finish, deliberate lob over the keeper, nice ball through from Joel. Did you, when you got through, were you thinking, I'll take him on? Were you thinking it's bouncing? He's coming towards me, I'll loft him? What was going through your head?
I think to be fair, the way Joel played it through made it quite easy for the finish, especially because I seen him coming out and I just thought, you're in trouble. I just lifted it over him, and it went. I thought it was going wide at first, actually, and then looked over.
It sort of drifted in a bit, didn't it? Yeah.
Came back in, so it's buzzing with it.
And talk me through the one that you smacked against the top of the bar, because that was unlucky.
again, another great ball from Donald, and I just thought, I'm not turning back here. I'm just going to hit this. And it just unfortunately came off the bar. But I was a bit good about that.
Yeah, well, not as good as we were, I'll tell you. But Joel touched on it then. Obviously, you're familiar. Obviously, having a loan spell with us for sort of like the last 4 months of the season. Last season, you're familiar that we've had some fun in games away from home, particularly last season. And there seems to be a bit of people are saying it's a hangover from last season, and I do get that. But obviously, the opposition at the moment, I thought it was a fairly decent performance on Saturday. We seem to be falling foul of the new laws that have come in about second bookings, etc., etc. But obviously, we lost Faz at Harrogate, and we conceded what Faz claims it didn't hit him anywhere near. So and Faz would say that, wouldn't he? And then obviously you were a little bit unlucky with your first booking was a bit daft because obviously if you didn't hear the whistle, but you still put the ball in the net. So what were your thoughts on the first booking?
To be honest, I know you'll go, oh, of course he'd say that, but I genuinely didn't hear the whistle, and I've turned around to check if the linesman's got his flag up, ready to go and celebrate again. I've looked over and the ref's pulling a card out, and I've seen the linesman with the flag, and I went, oh no. It's just one of them, and there mustn't have been very long from when I finished it to when the refs blow the whistle in stadium like that. You know yourselves, it was bouncing, it was loud, so
Yeah.
I didn't hear the whistle. At the end of the day, I've kicked the ball away, but at least it went in.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, coming to the situation in the second half, we were 2-1 down, and we did have we created the opportunities. I won't say chances, but we created the opportunities, and it must have been incredibly frustrating to get in the dressing room afterwards and say it was so near and yet so far.
To be fair, I don't really know what was going on after the change rooms because I was sort of trying to hide in a corner after just being. But I think it was frustrating for a lot of the lads because it wasn't a bad performance. We've come to top of the league, put in a good shift, and it's a referee's decision at the end of the day. Who knows what would have happened? But I think I would have backed myself to score. Well, backed the team to score anyway because we were really getting into the game.
Yeah, and coming to the second yellow, it's funny how that referees are really, really good at spotting things like that, but he didn't manage to spot the two pulls on your shirt when you were breaking free of the centre half. And I'm saying that now because at the time I was like, he's pulled your shirt, and then because you were getting away from him, he's pulled it even tighter. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, you need to pull that back, and that's a foul. But were you aware of that?
Well, unless you roll around screaming, then you're not going to get anything when he's tugging around you like that. And to be honest, I didn't even realise he was doing it. It was only my mum that texted me after and just said, "Did you realise he was doing it?" And I was so focused on getting on the end of the ball. There was no malice of wanting to hurt him or something after he'd caught up to the ball. But I said what I actually thought, then I'd be getting suspended for a lot more than one game.
Yeah, so you've got to keep your trap shut, haven't you? That's the trouble. But I mean, looking at that, it was a decent tackle by him, and I've nothing against that. But every time we try to do something similar, we seem to get pulled up for it, don't we, Joel? We don't seem to be very good at the dark arts this season. We seem to be getting caught.
Yeah, I think Michael's touched on it already, like about it. Players get slated a lot for maybe making a little bit of a meal out of certain things, and it is obviously wrong that players do that. On the flip side, like you say, you don't get sod all if you don't like make a bit of a meal of things, and
No.
it puts referees in a hard position, but also puts players in a hard position because sometimes somebody does something that's going to throw you off your game or your stride or something, and just because it isn't like they've not tried to side your leg off, it doesn't mean it's not a foul.
No.
And it's difficult, and yeah, it's just one of those that's just a bit of a difficult part of the game to manage sometimes. And like you say, I watching it, obviously I didn't think that it looked like there was any malice. It looked like it was just stretching to try and keep hold of the ball, and the guys nipped in, poked it away. Fair enough, good tackle, caught him afterwards. Yeah, it's a foul, but like I just don't really see why it needs to be a yellow card, to be honest. And it wasn't like a cynical trip. He wasn't going through in our penalty area or anything. It was in his own box.
No.
He was going to get a free kick and just crack on with the game. And obviously, refs decided to, make himself the main character again. But it's just how it goes. Sometimes you you fall on the wrong side of these decisions. Again, I'd say, I thought the second yellow for Faz against Harrogate, that was really harsh. Faz has gone to boot the ball, and the guy's just managed to get his toe in ahead of it. And yeah, it's a foul, but like, is it worth giving a yellow for something like that? No, not really. I don't think. And
I honestly thought it was a foul on Faz.
I mean, yeah, I get why.
I thought he went in studs up, but
yeah, I mean, I get why it's a foul on the on the Harrogate play, because obviously he's got the toe to the ball first and Faz has kicked his boot, and obviously it's more painful for Faz because he's caught his studs on the underside. But ultimately, I don't think that should be a yellow. I don't think the one on Saturday should be a yellow. So yeah, it is what it is. But that's the thing that it felt like we were building momentum by that point, weren't we? And I think we carried on. To be fair, I think we carried on cracking. And ultimately, it's a tough Gillingham defence, and I think while we were kind of building momentum, we were getting pressure and we were getting territory. They're just a hard team to break down, So yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, I've no complaints about the result, but it's just me being me. I'm a Morecambe fan, and it's just like the old adage: it sorts itself out over the season. Well, it didn't last season. We never got a penalty last season. We should have had about half a dozen. Now this season, obviously, we've been involved in 3 sending offs, and both hours have been fairly innocuous for a second yellow. And Matty Lund only got sent off for trying to decapitate Jacob Davenport. So
yeah. Well, actually, that's the question, Mike. How does it feel being the first person in, how long was it? It was something like 500 days to get to be taking a Morecambe penalty.
Morecambe penalty, yeah. How did that feel, Mike? Because obviously, were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't actually. I'd heard about all the stuff about never getting pens, but I didn't realise it actually went back that long.
I think last time we scored a penalty, you were at school. So yeah, it was go back to Saturday. As soon when he lunged at the ball and you sort of like were you trying to shot, or were you just trying to get a touch on it just before he got there?
Trying to get a shot off. I didn't even know he was there.
No, I know, that's what I mean. And it looked like you were trying to get a shot off. And as soon as he'd gone down, he made a bloody meal of it. But that's just the way it is, isn't it? It tickles me now because it's actually, if you've been watching the Rugby Union World Cup, it's actually starting to make its way into Rugby Union now because of the head injury thing. And people in tackles are rolling around after they've been tackled claiming they've got a head injury. And Rugby Union refs are still quite wise and like, no, carry on, Yeah. But obviously he made a meal of it, and that's probably what got the yellow card, because he went down like he'd been shot.
Yeah, to be fair, it's like what you said before about the dark arts. He's done that, and he's ended up getting me sent off. So
he's done his job, hasn't he?
I think if he stays up and jogged back to his box, I probably wouldn't have got the second yellow. But
no,
it's just fair play to him. It's not a second yellow, is it? Let's be honest. But
no, it isn't.
He's done it. He's done his best to contribute, and fair play. He's got me a second yellow.
Yeah, but the point I want to make, and this is a general point. It's not aimed at any particular player. It's just my frustration as a fan is that if you were to pull the centre half back, he'd give it every single time. If you're in a chase with the centre half and you pull him back, he'd give it. And yet 7 times out of 10 they pull you and they don't. If there's a corner in the box and you pull the centre half shirt, he'll give it. If he pulls yours, he won't give a penalty. And that's the thing that frustrates me. And that's only my opinion. Joel, I'm happy for you to disagree with that, but that's my paranoia, but it's just what frustrates me.
I think
central get away with murder.
I'd say
like Faz and Jacob.
It's something, that's the thing. It's something that tends to be goes both ways. And while obviously it feels at times that like referees he might have been a bit harsh on us. What I would say is, yeah, I think Faz and Jacob probably get away with their fair share of little bit of naughty shirt pulling on some strikers, and I'm sure Michael knows from doing training sessions with them.
How do you feel about that, Michael? Because it's going to be frustrating for you because you know you're going to get penalised as soon as you do what they do to you.
I think they're just very easy fouls to give for referees. Because if they don't give them, then the crowd starts turning on them. But they're just so easy just to get, even though it shouldn't be like that. It's just how it's always going to be. But that benefits Faz because he's a major culprit for it.
Yes, he's Faz is our lion, and obviously Jacob's our gazelle. That's care of Joel here. That's how we describe him. And we know he can be pretty good at the dark arts himself, can Faz. So I'm not complaining about that point of view. I just complain about the fact that strikers like yourself, you're quite combative. You like getting stuck in. You put yourself about. You work really, really hard. And as a centre half will dig and dig and dig and dig, and as soon as you give him some back, they always give the free kick. And I know you accept that as a centre forward, but God, it frustrates the crap out of me watching it.
Well, I think Michael's going to touch on it, hasn't he? Like about it's easy for the rest to give. It's easy to give a free kick in somebody's own half where nothing's really going to come of it, is it?
No.
But it's quite hard. But then, like you say, it's hard. It then becomes hard for them to give a free kick to the attacking team 30 yards from goal and potentially send off their player.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't want they don't want the tough decisions.
But it shouldn't be like that.
No.
Anyway, so
a good example of that is when we played Bradford, I think it was in the first half. I think it was the last kick of the game, and the defender was all over me, like pulling my shirt, dragging me down. Somehow managed to get a shot off. I've gone in at half time, and the gaffer goes, just go down, your winner's a foul. And then second half, I was in on goal. The defender pulls me down. I go down. The ref just comes over and tells me to get up. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that was it. I mean, obviously, we ended up with a penalty because Jake.
Well, I mean, by that point it was 3-0. But like, yeah, it was nice that you could prove a point in a way that the result had already been sewn up.
Yeah, did you go back in the dressing room and go, "No, Derek told you"?
He said you did go down and didn't get anything. I know. Still didn't give me anything.
Yeah, gaffer. So moving on to Tuesday night, Liverpool under 12s. Sorry, under 21s. I'm reading that wrong. Liverpool under 21s. A fairly decent crowd and a pretty decent game, actually. And again, one of those where if you were to sit back and that wasn't a 3-0 for me. It wasn't a 3-0. 2 deflected goals. And then what tickled me was some idiot on social media, and I don't know who it was, but I will say some idiot did actually say Adam Smith should be nowhere near the team on a Saturday for letting those 3 goals in. And I'm like, hey? What? Was he watching a different game, Joel?
Yeah, bizarre opinion to have that. There wasn't anything at all that Adam Smith could have done about any of those goals. They were just deflections. I mean, it wasn't like the goals. It wasn't like they were 30-yard shots that took a massive deflection and wouldn't have been going anywhere near the goal otherwise. I think you got to say fair play to Liverpool because I think we made errors in possession, kind of in midfield and kind of coming out of defence. And that were a bit sloppy, and ultimately that's given them the chance to get in behind and get into those positions where, the shot's blocked, but block shots they can go anywhere sometimes. You know, we've been the receipt and we've been the beneficiary of a few over the years. So, and you can say fair play to Liverpool. They took advantage of those moments quite well. But it was weird. Aside from those kind of like giving away the ball in a bit of a daft way like that. I wouldn't really say there was like a ton of like I wouldn't say there was like a ton of there wasn't really much between the teams. I thought we created a load of chances. It's just one of those nights, some that little flick header from Charlie Brown or whatever, that it creeps into the post. And just that one in the second half that Michael's hit off his left foot in the box, that kind of cans off the post and in, it's just one of those. I mean, at the end of the day, I think I think Derek mentioned this in his post-match interview. You'd rather be creating the chances and missing them, because putting away chances and goal scoring, it's one of those where it comes in phases. Sometimes you'll see loads go in, loads fly in, and then sometimes it just doesn't happen. I think the great example I always go back to is Cole Stockton in the promotion season, and I remember he missed a shed load of chances in the first half of the season. I remember Derek coming out and saying, now he's getting them, and Cole saying himself, I'm getting the chances, and that's what matters. Obviously, something's clicked. I think might well have been that volley against Solihull Moors, and he thinks, oh yeah, I'm on it now. And he's bagged about 10 in the second half of the season and taken that form through into League One, as we all kind of saw the season after with all those incredible goals. So yeah, it can be just one of those things that's in and out goal scoring, and obviously it didn't fall our way on Tuesday night, but we created the chances, and I think that's the encouraging thing that you want to see.
And from your point of view, Michael, like I say, hit the post. We hit the post again. The one thing that I did notice, obviously they're all going to have youthful exuberance, and the Liverpool under-21s. Every time we did lose the ball in midfield, good God, they didn't have pile forward. About 6 or 7 of them. They were just literally very, very quick. And that's a different kind of challenge, because they're playing against what would be classed as obviously men, blokes. Obviously half our team are still your age, so you're just about the same age as them, bizarrely, aren't you? But it was a different sort of game, wasn't it? It was always pass and move from them, and it's not quite as it's a lot more puristic than the cut and thrust of a League Two game. Am I right?
Yeah, I think see a lot of the chances that I had, I'll be the first to hold my hand up and say, look, I should have done better there. But on another night, if we played that game again, could have scored 5, and we wouldn't even be saying there wasn't much difference between the two teams, because they might not get them just ridiculous deflected goals, which Smudges can just do nothing about. So
no.
On a night, we could have beaten them 5-0, and I could have walked off with 5, and everyone else could have walked up with a couple as well. But it's just one of them games, and if I was going to have a mare, it might as well do it in the whatever it's called cup. I'm not
exactly. Well, I mean, what is it? Football League trophy? Is that it?
Yeah. Oh, they've not got a sponsor
it was
this
the
season.
bloody Papa John's pizza. It was Johnson's paint. It's been all sorts of crap, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think the fact that they haven't managed to get a sponsor for this season kind of backs up that point, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, true. But the strange thing is that was easily our highest attendance in this competition ever. And bizarrely, and Michael, this will probably amaze you, but when we were in League Two before Derek was manager, if we got 1,600 for a home game in the league, we'd be chuffed to bits. So and literally, if we got 300 people for a Papa John's or whatever it was, Johnson Paints Trophy game, we'd be chuffed to bits. So to get 1,600 for a Tin Pot Trophy Cup was pretty amazing. But obviously, from your point of view, you're absolutely right. It could have gone our way. It didn't. Let's get it out of the way. But we did create chances. From their point of view, that was, I think, their 13th attempt in the competition, and they finally got a win, and good luck to them. So, but I only have to look back a couple of seasons. We beat Man United under 21s 4-2 and
4-0.
4-0, yeah, sorry. Yes, it was 4-0. And
Ryan Cooney masterclass.
But the guy who was in centre mid for them scored for United last Saturday. So it just goes to show he proved he could do it, sort of thing.
Oh, yeah,
he got slagged off for scoring, but
I'm pretty sure Pelistri was playing that night as well, and he was in the lineup last night in the Champions League. So
he was. So it just goes to show you it's maybe doing its job. I don't agree with the under-21s being in it, but that's just me. Again, I'm being Captain Paranoid and being horrible tonight. I've just decided that's my lot in life this week, because I'm sick of losing away from home, and I'm going to bloody mow. There you go, finished. It doesn't really matter. Have we got Blackpool away and Barrow at home in this now?
I think so.
Nobody knows. In fact, you're probably listening to this podcast thinking, I'll skip through this bit because it's the Tin Pot Trophy bit. Yeah, we'll go on to talk to Michael now. So, Michael, you've been at Burnley. You presumably jumped at the opportunity to come. How did it happen that you come to us when we were struggling in League One last season?
Well, obviously it's hard because I'd never been out on loan before or anything like that. I'd done a couple of seasons in the 21s, done all right, but when you're like that, you just need someone to trust you really. And I came in, didn't really have the impact I wanted to, whether it was that just maybe playing out of position, but obviously you've got Cole Stockton up front, and I'm a first time alone. You're not going to be dislodging him, so it was a bit gutted when it got ended soon because I had to have my shoulder reconstructed basically. But I think I came back this season with a point to prove. I didn't want last season to be a reflection of the player I actually am, and I hope so far I'm doing a good job at that.
You are, yeah, because obviously it chuffed a bit to get your first Football League goal, which is obviously important. It's something you'll always remember. And from that point of view, you've gone from strength to strength because obviously, I mean, a case in point is the only goal of the game from Adam Mayer's cross. And that was a perfect striker's goal, just getting across the front post and a really nice flick with I think it was the outside of your right foot and separated the two sides. And that was a real poacher's goal. And yet you've shown that isn't just your only string to your bow. So you've come back, and a lot of people have commented saying you look like you came to us as a boy, and then because you've had this surgery and you've been in the gym and whatever, you look like you've come back a man on your second loan spell. Do you feel you've matured?
100%, yeah. I feel like sometimes when you go out on loan, I think a great example was my dad used to say that the first time loanies he used to bring in from Chelsea and Man City, wherever it was, they were like rabbits in headlights, playing with these grown men that need to win the games to pay the mortgages. Not saying that that's what it is here, but he was back then. And then I didn't really understand that at first. And when I went away in the summer, I sort of realised what he meant. And now I've come back, I feel like I learned a lot from last season, even though it didn't go my way. And I feel like I'm using that to my advantage this season.
So, would you say it's not strictly just like a physical or a technique thing? It's also like a bit of a mental thing. You kind of like you're mentally prepared for somebody to start booting you or whatever, or like grabbing your shirt.
I think it's definitely a mental thing. Yeah, I think I was giving my opponents far too much respect last season, thinking they're grown men, they've played this many games, they've done all that. Whereas this season, almost been like giving them no respect, even though I should. But in my mind, just giving them no respect. I think that's actually it's really helped me, especially with like players in Faz and Jacob Badeau in training. It's so good to be able to learn off them and learn how to play against them. And it only helps me on a Saturday.
Yeah, because Faz is big, dirty, and horrible, and Jacob reads the game quite well. So you're up against two different types there, aren't you?
Yeah.
and Faz won't mind me saying that because he laughed when I said it last time. So, so was it an easy decision when Derek came in again, saying, you know, can we take young Mellon back? Was it an easy decision for you to make?
Well, I think when the transfer window opened, it must have been about day 1 or 2. He was saying we'll take him, and I think since then, and he just said you're going to play, and I had a couple of offers from other teams, but they were saying like we can't guarantee you game time, we can't do this. Whereas the gaffer was nailed on, and I just think when you're going out on loan, that's what you want, and you want to play, you want to learn, you don't want to sit on the bench just training. That's not what you want. So it was definitely an easy decision.
Yeah, so the good thing is he's been true to his word, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I had to earn that as well, and I feel like I'm paying him back for his trust.
And it's quite shall we say it's quite amusing really, because obviously yourself and Tom both on loan from higher division clubs, obviously Burnley now in the Premier League and obviously Shrewsbury in League One. Both of you, there's quite a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, as there is on Adam on the left hand side, and then JJ's come in from the conference, and basically all 4 of you put together nearly you're only just make over my age. You've not got a lot of years in you. You've taken time to get to learn each other's game, but it's getting better every game. That's what we think as fans, anyway. What's your take on it?
100%. I think we all complement each other really well. All four of us get on really well as well. Same with Eli. There's another young lad. Just think the way we play together, and I think we just suit each other's play styles, and that's why I think it's working really well.
And from your point of view, I always ask this, and Joel usually shrugs his eyes and looks up at the sky. But when you've come back, you've started scoring. You don't have to tell me, but you've got a target in your mind that you'd be happy with, or are you just thinking, no, I want to get? Do you sit there and think, does your dad tell you go for 30, and if you get 25, you've failed, or what?
I don't really keep like long distance targets. I sort of go game by game. I feel like in the past I've gone for long distance targets and then either blew them away quite quickly or fell quite short and ended up getting disappointed. So I sort of try and go game by game, but my brother and my dad are niggling me to get a certain number before Christmas, but I won't tell you what that is.
Well, from that point of view, it's good to know that you've got your dad. And it tickled me before when you said your mum texted you, because she's fighting your corner as well, going, your mum said, he was pulling your shirt, Michael. I like that. The whole family's sort of like involved with this. And she's quite right. If I had your number, I'd have been texting you going, did you realise he was pulling your shirt? Yeah. But from your point of view, looking at the squad we've got, we haven't got a lot. I mean, if you look, Faz is not exactly ancient, neither is Jacob. We haven't got a lot of experience. I mean, if you look, probably our oldest our oldest player is probably going to be, the two keepers. And then everybody else, we've got real, it's not a lack of experience, it's a lack of age, really, isn't it? And from that point of view, as you pointed out, Eli done really well, settled really well. Have you got like a sort of like a card school on the bus away from home, or are you all still sort of like sat listening to your music, or how does it work? Because obviously you're all usually you have the old lags playing cards and swearing and blah blah blah, and I'm going on what we used to have, but I imagine it's all fairly sort of neat and tidy and the exuberance of youth on the coach. Am I wrong?
Nah, they all play some stupid card game. I don't know what Crash or something like that. I have no idea what it is. I just sit there with my headphones on and just watch whatever I can on the laptop. That's how I like to travel.
So you're coming across as quite sensible then, whereas I imagine go on, name the shouting buffoons in the card school.
I'd say it's got to be Jordan, Slew, and Smudge.
See, now Jordan, I can understand because he's probably the oldest outfield player. I mean, I could be wrong there.
I think it might be Jan, who's the oldest outfield player.
Oh yeah, just slightly by maybe about 6 months. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me with Jordan at all. And Smudger doesn't surprise me either. But it is what it is. But so, is it the same with Adam and Tom and Eli and JJ that you're all nice and quiet, or have they got gobs on them as well?
Honestly, God knows what they're up to. It could be anything. I just sort of sit with my headphones on and just pretend it's not happening.
That's a very, very, very diplomatic answer. I think when your football career takes off, I think you'll have a great career, but when you finish that, go into politics, because that was a very good answer. Joel, you will have some more interesting questions than me.
Yeah, I guess we've kind of touched on it already, but when you kind of first got to on your first loan spell, and I think it's interesting to hear what your dad had to say about first-time loanees, because it's something I've heard quite a few other managers talk about. So what were the kind of main things that shocked you the first time round when you kind of went into those games for the first time when we were back in League One?
I think The first time I lined up was I think it was it Ipswich away?
Yeah, I think did you start that game or?
No, I came on when we were 4-0 down, unfortunately. But I just remember coming on, and it just shocked me when I looked over from a corner and there was like 9-year-olds calling me every name under the sun. And I just took me by surprise, and then I think I can't even describe it, but yeah, it definitely caught me off guard. But once you sort of get used to it, it is a brilliant environment to be in.
Yeah, I guess a stadium like quite a full Portman Road and quite a happy Portman Road as well. Obviously, they were doing fantastic in the league at the time, and it's a hell of an environment to kind of make your professional debut in, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially when every time one of their players touches the ball, they're doing all the olays because they're 4-0 up. But yeah, it was a brilliant experience because my brother and my two brothers travelled about 6 hours to come and watch. So it was buzzing that they were there, and that it was a good moment for me.
And to be fair, well, we didn't concede any goals in that second half, so you can take.
I also take that.
Yeah, we can take that against Ipswich away. Blimey, it was rough going to those places, and yeah, it's a fair effort from your brothers as well going down to Ipswich, which is a nightmare to get to that part of the world. But so, is there anything in particular that you have worked on over summer, or is it just been more of a kind of more of a mental thing, have there been kind of few little elements of your game you've thought I'm going to try and do this a bit more?
I think I learned a lot when I went away with Burnley in pre-season. Like sort of not trying to get in too much of a physical battle and like finding little yards everywhere and little advantages. So I worked. I probably shouldn't reveal this on a podcast, but when the crosses are coming in, I tend to look for like who's sleeping in the box. Did so. Prime example, Salford. I seen the centre back, the centre midfielder, sort of wandering back in. I thought you don't want to be there, so I just thought I'd get across him, and thankfully Adam put a great little ball in along the floor that I could flick in. It's just little lessons like that I've tried to pick up wherever I can. I feel like it's working.
That kind of leads quite nicely into something else I was going to ask, because obviously a kind of a big part of your game is finding those little spaces in the box, and is that, I think you've touched upon it there. I was going to ask how much of it is instinct and how much of it is kind of like a rehearsed move, or like you're looking for certain things. But is there a kind of an instinct factor in there as well?
I think a lot of it's instinct and a lot of it's I've my life's basically revolved around football since I was very young. I've had to go and watch a lot of my dad's games, and as you probably know, he's had some top strikers over the years that I've always picked little things up, and they've stayed with me through the years. And I think eventually they just grow on you, and you just keep learning more and more.
No, yeah, definitely. And I guess another aspect of the game, obviously, is you hold up and can you hold up and link play, and I think that's something that I kind of guess would come with experience, but it seems to be something that you're very much bringing to the table. Is that link play this season, and is that something you've been kind of thinking about working on, or like trying to like do a bit more?
Well, that was something I learned last year. I used to watch how Cole did it in the games, and how we did it in training, and just little things that he did. I tried to copy as well, and they do really help when you pick little things up like that.
No, and like it's been working out, hasn't it? Obviously, I think the one that stands out is JJ's goal against Bradford. You know, kind of dropping off the centre back that pulls open the space, and then being able to hit that round the corner ball. You know.
Yeah, just that's the sort of the touching on the me ads, Blocko and JJ, just sort of just knowing what the other one's going to do. Like I didn't even have to look up when JJ flipping that ball. I knew where he was going to run. Just flipped it in there, and it was a great finish from him.
And is that something you can really feel starting to kind of build between you? I mean, that front four has been quite consistent this season, and do you really feel that there is that kind of relationship and you kind of know where each other are going now?
100%. Yeah. The more we do it, the more we're going to get to know each other, and it's only going to get better.
And in terms of your goals, actually, obviously your first goal was the Rotherham one. That was a lovely finish from a bit of an angle. But once you kind of got that goal, was it kind of like a bit of something's lifted in your head and you're feeling, right, I can go at it a bit more? Because I think your next goal after that has been a free kick, and feeling confident enough to hit a free kick that well with that conviction is kind of like the Rotherham goal, something that takes a bit of the weight off.
I think it's a huge weight off your shoulders. Like, I remember games last season going into them thinking, I've got to score, I've got to get my first goal. And so that there was a chance against, I think it was Port Vale last year, where Donald Love flashed it across, and I've gone, oh, this is it, and I've just completely missed the ball. So I think once you get your first goal, it's just out your head then, and it's all go from there.
I think I guess like something like the Port Vale one, like, does that kind of weigh on your mind a little bit as well, kind of going into the next few games?
Yeah, it used to a lot, but I feel like I've mentally matured a bit now, not to let stuff like that. It's done. It's over. So,
and I guess since you've proven that you definitely can score quite a few goals, so it's nothing
Well,
to do
the other thing is, I alluded to it before, that just about every goal's been different, which hasn't it?
Yeah, there's been free kick, penalty, near post flick,
penalty,
finish
free
across
kick,
the goal, lob 1-on-1. It's a bit of everything, really, isn't it?
Yeah. You've chucked everything in. We need a miss it left footer and an header, a diving header, I think, and then we've got the full set.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, no pressure. I mean, obviously, your dad and your brother put saying, yeah, we've got targets for you. Well, that's our target for you. Diving header and a slice with your left foot. Yeah, anytime, doesn't matter. Won't be Saturday, obviously, for obvious reasons, but there you go.
I'd get the slice on Tuesday if it didn't hit the post.
There you go. Well, all you got to do is put it in next time. You've cracked it. So looking at that, I want to come to the obviously you touched on proving the gaffer wrong that when you went down you didn't get a penalty, despite the fact you did as you were told. But we touched on the fact that Derek promised you when he said, you will get games, you've got games. How chuffed were you that Derek was quite eager in the press for Scotland under-20s, going, why have you not picked Mickey Mellon, and gets on the phone?
I've had a lot of that over the. Well, I went there in the 17s, and since then it's been a bit. Probably should have got called up a couple of times. Maybe, I don't know, but I think the gaffer's call definitely helped. But I had no idea he was going to do it. He spoke to me the day before training. I didn't really think anything of it, and then saw his interview back later and saw that he was going mental. So it's definitely a good feeling to know that the gaffer's backing you.
Yeah, and knowing Derek, like I say, when you talk to him, he's got a good sense of humour as the gaffer, but when he's on point, he's very, very intense. And I can just imagine the phone call. We're like, why are you not picking my boy?
Probably something like that.
Yeah, probably, which is good. It's nice to know he's got your corner. And obviously, us as sort of like, long-time Morecambe fans, to get a league game postponed because we've got 4 people on international duties, like, what? There was only one game in our division postponed, and it was ours. And it's because we've got all these high-flying superstars like yourself and Eli and obviously Jacob off with Grenada, and then Adam being on standby for the England the 20s. That's got to justify you coming on loan, hasn't it? That
100%, yeah. But I think it's only what they deserve after being young players doing well in a tough division. So hopefully it continues.
You're still coming. Oh, I like the dogs there. The dogs there, just getting a bit of a growl off the dog.
Neighbours ordered a takeaway. She doesn't like it.
That was another good politician's answer there. You've definitely got a career after football. It's a good one, that one. So it's going to be frustrating for you because you've had such a good start. You've played a lot of minutes, and then obviously Saturday it's an opportunity for somebody else.
Yeah, well, I don't know who it's going to be, but I'm sure wherever it is, we'll give 100% to try and get the team 3 points, which we've had a good home record, and I think there's no reason why we can't extend it.
I mean, looking at Swindon, notice that beautiful segue there, Joel. Beautiful segue. Notice Swindon third. I'm just looking at the stats here. 5-5 with Wrexham, 6-0 against Crawley, 5-3 against Sutton. Charlie Austin, he's adding a lot of experience up front, but they've got a couple of young lads who are going well, Joel.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people predicted very much from Swindon this season, but like quite a few teams this season, I think, and ourselves included, we're kind of they're defying some of the predictions that people have made about them this season. It looks like they're conceding a few, and they're conceding a few chances as well, but they're creating a lot, and they've got players who are just in red hot form, and you know, who just seem to be finding the net with ease. Obviously, you've got Charlie Austin up front at this level. That's always very, very helpful. And then you've got the lad on loan from Bradford, Jake Young. Just another one for Bradford fans to have let get away and then be doing a good job elsewhere in this division. But you know, I think he's got something like 9 goals now, hasn't he? So it's just and they've got a lot of talented players who can put a shift in and create and score goals. So no doubt it'll be a bit of a challenge. It'll be interesting to see what kind of approach we might kind of take to combat them. They do look to be a bit more of a passing side, but should at the very least be probably quite a few goals in the game. But saying Notts County came here and we, kept them pretty little. So be interesting to see how the game shapes up. Really,
they've scored 22 and they've conceded 11. So I'm gonna go for 0-0 because Michael's not playing.
Yeah.
And that'll probably be completely wide of the mark. But there you go. From that point of view, like I say, there's the old adage: you can't. The division will sort itself out, and it'll look something like, with maybe 10 a dozen games gone, we're 7 games in, but most teams are 8 games in, apart from ourselves and Swindon and a couple of others. It still hasn't really sorted itself out. There's lots and lots. Obviously we expected Wrexham and maybe Notts County and Gillingham, but Mansfield are always going to be thereabouts. But we've talked about Swindon, Crawley, Crewe, Accrington going quite well. MK Dons have had a bit of a sticky patch, but then come through that. Barrow, we know they're going to attack. They've had a bit of a sticky patch. I want to come to Michael now. Sooner or later, we talk about this on the terraces. Sooner or later, we've got the funny feeling that we're going to click and somebody's going to get a tonking. And I'm rather hoping it's going to be sooner rather than later. Is that what you feel in the changing room?
I think the most frustrating thing is, I wouldn't know, but the fans must be frustrated with what goes on away from home. But I think apart from Mansfield, the frustrating thing is we've not been outclassed or deservedly beaten. The last 2 have been 2 decisions that aren't red cards and they've killed the game. 2 referees that have killed us, and apart from Mansfield, on another day we could have won any of those games. So I'm sure it will come, and I think someone will be on the receiving end soon. I think we definitely feel that.
It just, from your personal point of view, you hope it's not Swindon because you won't be there. So, which is, I can understand you saying that, but obviously, the politician's answer will be no. I hope Ethan comes on and gets a triple hat trick, but no.
No, I think it'll be a good game, but I don't know. I think we're more than capable enough to get a good result, and there's no reason why we can't. And they're not going to be anything better than what we've played so far, so there's no reason why we can't.
Joel, your thoughts on the Swindon game?
Yeah, ultimately it's going to be a tough one. I think, it wouldn't really surprise me to see it go not too dissimilar away to the Notts County game, in that we end up being able to nullify them quite effectively. We're quite good at doing that at home. We've only conceded 1 goal at home, and that was from a bit of a bizarre kind of hoof ball forward that turned into quite a good through ball that nobody really expected to happen. But we faced up against some decent sides at home. I know Bradford and Salford haven't really clicked this season, but we really did restrict them to very little. Walsall didn't have a great deal of joy against us. Notts County, barring a bit of a spell after half time, we restricted them to very little, and that's a team with Dan Crowley and David McGoldrick. That's some serious creativity in there, and we've managed to restrict them. So there's no reason that we can't do the same against Swindon. Like I said, they are more of a passing side, kind of like your Notts Counties, but I don't think they're quite as dogmatic in that approach as Notts County. I don't think we're going to see many teams ever in League Two that are going to be quite that dogmatic in the commitment to the kind of passing game. But yeah, I don't know. I've kind of got a bit of a feeling it might end up being a bit of a tighter one after all their kind of mad bonanzas. I think if you try to have an outscoring match with them, you're probably going to lose.
I agree.
I think if you try and they're good at just scoring a hatful of goals. They've got lots of players who are feeling on form, obviously, and they're creating a lot as well on top of that. And I think if you try to go toe to toe in that, you try to play that kind of a game with them, I think you're probably going to come out the wrong side of it. So look, we want to be creative and open them up a bit. At the same time, I'm sure there'll be a lot of focus on trying to shut them down and not let them play that kind of game. Because if you let them play that kind of game, they're probably going to come out on top. Whereas if you kind of put them in, take them on in a way that's going to make them uncomfortable, make them do things that they don't really want to do, then it's probably going to give us a decent chance of winning.
Fingers crossed. You heard it here first. I'm still sticking to 0-0. It keeps our unbeaten run at home, and just for a change, it'd be nice if somebody on the Football League show and Morecambe bored people to death. Swindon have been scoring for fun, couldn't get a shot on target. I'll settle for that because it's a long season, and as I've said, Michael's not playing, so he's our guest tonight, so he's our star. So if he's not playing, I'll settle for 0-0. That'll do us. I'm just being nice. But I think that's it. There's nothing from the trust this week. We've got nothing to tell us, have we?
No, not really. Yeah, just obviously we had the AGM a couple of weeks ago. Got a bit of a different makeup to the board, and yeah, we'll be having a meeting next week and hopefully setting out a few new points and seeing what we can do over the next year, really.
So this has been ShrimpNet episode 7. Our guest has been the very charming and politically ambivalent Michael Mellon, who's having the takeaway. Then it's not you, just the dog.
It's the neighbour, and if anyone comes within 50 yards of the house, she barks her head off. So
all right,
it could be anyone.
I thought I've got this vision of your dad shoveling pizza in downstairs. It's like yeah, it's probably way off the mark, but there you go. I usually am. So yeah, this has been episode 7. Thank you for joining us, Michael. Hope you'll go back and say Faz was right. That old bloke and the young bloke seem to be okay on the podcast because we don't bite. We're here to sort of promote the club and obviously give players a chance. Give fans a chance to get to know the players a bit better. And it's been. I hope you've enjoyed it. A little bit daunting doing this sort of thing, but when you're in the Premiership with Burnley, you have to get used to this. So,
no, it's been good. I've enjoyed
it. Joel, last word from you.
Yeah, horrible, disgusting 1-0 versus Swindon on Saturday, please. That's all we want.
Now you see, I've said 0-0. You've said 1-0. Michael, you're not playing. What's your prediction on the spot? Come on.
I'll go 1-0. JJ to score.
Oof, look at that. No, there's 3 of us predicted, and we've only 2 goals in any of the predictions.
I'm saying Jordan Slee with a last minute header.
Yeah. Jordan Slee with a diving header. That'll put pressure on Michael. Yeah. Right, this has been ShrimpNet. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week to talk about how we beat Swindon 8-4 because we know nothing. See you next week.